software development. Now, these are the people that love coding, that love to break problems down into smaller little chunks, and then each little chunk they turn into computer language, and then they give that to the computer. And the computer says, I'll do that really fast, anytime you want. Just tell me to run it. Okay, so if I had to summarize software development, it's someone saying, my code, it's going to connect things together. It's going to connect computers. It's going to connect systems. It might even connect people together. It's not going to crash. It's going to be super fast. And it's going to solve the problem the best way that it could today. And, I'll tell you, software is everywhere. Programs are everywhere. They're kind of the glue that holds all of this technology stuff together. You have job titles like software developer and full stack engineer, and you might specialize in mobile apps or machine learning, being a machine learning engineer, or a DevOps engineer, where you're writing DevOps is developer operations. So you're writing code for all the other programmers to essentially make their work easier, quicker, better. So again, software development people, they don't really care so much always what their code's doing. They just really enjoy sitting behind the computer and solving puzzles, solving problems all day, using programming languages, using computer languages. And it's almost like learning a different language. You have to learn how to interact with the machine. And then you sit and you solve these problems, you break them down. And you sit behind a computer most of the day solving problems, but people really find it fun, the people that are in this. So that is software development. I'm going to show you some of that in a little bit in the demo. Okay, everybody, let's write some code. Let's look at software development. Now, like I said, software development ties things together. Programming is like the glue that holds all of this tech together. So you're going to see a lot of similarities to other things we've done. So I have up here, I have a web page. I have this thing that says, when I run it, it says random dog picture. Okay, that's great. You can see it's coming in from this HTML. Inside this HTML, I'm just going to minimize this to make it a little simpler. This is just the metadata of the web page, nothing too great there. But I have the body of the web page, and I have in it a section for our app, and I have in that a heading tag, which just makes this heading. So nothing fancy. But at the bottom, I do have some JavaScript. So I have a library that I want to use because I don't want to do this all from scratch. And I have my own script tag, which has some code in it that's going to make this web page interactive. And what is it going to do? It's going to get a random dog picture and put it on the screen. Now, how is it going to get that? Now, I could program the whole thing myself. But there is, unbelievably, there is a website called random.dog. And they do show you pictures of random.dogs. But they also provide you with a way to get data for a random dog picture by giving you the file size in bytes and the URL to a JPEG or a GIF or something that has a random dog. So if I refresh, there's another one, there's a different one, there's a different one. So here's my thing. How am I going to get that data given to us by this other this service on the internet that's just doing this, it's providing this to me? How am I going to bring it in to my application to kind of hook it up, hook it together? Well, this is where my coding comes into play in my script. So let's look at the script. Now I started it out. First section here hooks up to the app element. So it just tells us this code will run for this section. Then we need to store that data somewhere. I'm going to store it in something called dog because it is a dog. It's in our data section. And then this created section will run when the web page starts up, is created, and it's ready to go. Now here is where I'm going to fetch that data. So I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to grab this reference. I'm going to pull it into this. And my web application, when it is created, it will go and fetch new data from random.dog and pull it into itself. And then once it pulled it in, it's going to get the response. It's going to pull the data off that response. And when it pulls the data off that response, it's going to log that to the console, which is down here. So watch what happens now when I refresh and run this. Hey, check it out. The data that was coming out here is now automatically being fetched, automatically being pulled down into my application right here. Well, that's not where I want it. I want it on my web page. I want it to be dynamically created. Well, how am I going to do that? Well, instead of consoling to the log, or logging into the console actually, I would set the dog that is right here. I want to set the dog data to be the data that came down. Just a simple assignment statement. Now I know this code looks a little funny and different. If you've never seen it, yes, it looks a little strange, but this is what you would learn. You learn how to interact with these computer systems through code. It's actually quite simple. So now I have it set up. I can go back to this and I can do things like, let me make a paragraph. And I'm going to do this where it's going to replace dog file size bytes. So I want to see if I can pull that into my app. And I'll just say something like file size. And let me run it. Okay, we got the file size. I run it again, it's a different file size. Well, I don't just want the file size. I want the actual image. So this library I'm using to make this a little bit easier has a quick little shortcut. So I will really just say, I want, what is it? Dog URL maybe? Let me check. Yep, URL. So dog URL. And that should generate me an image based on what it pulled down from that site. Now let's see if it works. Run. There we go. Well, it's picture's too big. Nice. Run it again. There's another one. Okay, so we should adjust that in a way because these pictures are so big. They're not showing up. So remember, look at this web page. It's not that, it doesn't look that fancy. It's not that good. But a web designer, a graphic designer would spend time making it look nice. So that's where they would go into this other file and they would write some codes. So let's pull that code in. And now if I run it, I have our other graphics, our other look, and it looks better. It looks nice. So our designers came to the rescue. We wrote the code. And that's how these different specialists work together.